The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. This is Vanish from WSI ALM, and I'm also joined by my colleague Armando Alas.
Good morning, everyone. Looking forward to a good webinar today. Lots of information again.
You bet. Yeah, an action-packed webinar, just rapid-fire stuff. So there's a lot of information that's going to be coming at you. So yeah, be prepared. All right. So we're going to be following our usual format, which is our latest news and articles. So we'll be covering all the latest news and events that are taking place in the world of digital marketing. And then we got a really cool case study lined up. So definitely not to be missed today. There's a Panda, our client that we had that was impacted by the Panda update, and then they came to us and we worked on the website. So Armando's really got a cool case study on the whole experience with dealing with this penalty that an IC brought over to us and how we dealt with it. So it's a really cool case study that we have lined up today. And then, of course, followed up by our usual Q&A section. All right, let's get started here. So in terms of the news that's coming out, Panda 4.1, the latest Panda update from Google is still rolling out. So there's a lot of sites that are still, there's a lot of buzz in the industry circle. There's a lot of sites that are talking about either gaining or losing rankings. So definitely be on the lookout for any of your sites, your clients' websites, as there might be, if you see any sort of a fluctuation, it might be associated with Panda 4.1. So just be on the lookout for that. It is a slow rollout, as Google has mentioned. They are not doing this like they didn't do a knee-jerk and did a full-scale rollout. So they are doing sort of like a gradual rollout as far as this particular update is concerned. So that's why stay tuned for any changes as far as analytics are concerned. Be on the lookout for that. We shared this link last week in our LaunchPad webinar, the search metrics link, and you can continue to access that link. It's a great link that actually shows you all the different sites that have been impacted by this latest update of Panda. So we talked about some of the gaming websites, some of the medical websites that are actually losing traction because of Panda and because of content, which was not really original content, but they were really indexing their content from other websites. So that's an update there. So you can always access the search metrics link that we provided you at the bottom of the screen here for all the latest sites that are the wins and some of the sites that have actually lost traffic. All right, moving on. So at one of the recent conferences, a Google executive had a pretty interesting comment where he talked about more first-page URLs in the search results are actually being HTTPS as opposed to the regular URLs. So the individual's name is Gary, and he's the one that actually implemented the whole HTTPS protocol along with Matt Cutts for the search results. And what he says was that while only 10% of the crawled and discovered URLs on the internet are HTTPS, that means secure, only 10% of the crawled URLs are secure, 30% of the first page search results contain at least one or more of the secure URLs. So it was kind of like an interesting point that he made out there. And as you might be aware, like in about 3-4 weeks back, we covered the fact that HTTPS is now a ranking signal for Google. So if you have an HTTPS URL, you would be given a bit of a preferential treatment by Google when it comes to ranking websites. Now, there was a whole slew of questions that came in from the ICs. You know, should we change to HTTPS right away? What should we do? So, I mean, our thoughts on this whole matter is that, look, if your website and your product is requiring a sort of a security certificate, go ahead and invest in it. Then it's obviously like very important. But if you don't have a site that does really need a secure certificate, then there's other things that you can be doing and investing your money in that are far more important than getting an HTTPS. So Gary compared the HTTPS ranking signal to like a paid speed algorithm, right? So if your site's loading up fast, then you get a bit of a bonus point from Google as far as I'm concerned. So he compared the HTTPS ranking signal to the same impact that probably a paid speed would have. Now, we all know paid speed can have quite an impact because slow loading websites do not rank quite high. So that's also sort of like a mixed message being sent out there. Like how important really is this HTTPS signal? So we're obviously tracking this quite carefully. But again, from a logical perspective, if your site is going to be better off with a secure security certificate, go ahead and get it. If not, then there's much more important things that you should be focusing on, that you should be investing your money on, because the SSL also does cost money, right? Although I know that there is products out there like GoDaddy's a certificate that's not that expensive, and you can incorporate that for your clients. The other cautionary advice, or whatever you want to call it, that we want to put it out there, is that when you are changing your URLs to HTTPS as opposed to HTTP, just make sure that you do this whole activity really carefully. Plan out this whole activity, do the URL mapping very carefully, because the last thing that you want is to lose your current organic traffic that's coming to your website, because your URLs are now not found by Google, or you don't do the proper redirects. So before you do this conversion activity, be very careful and map out all your URLs properly, and keep analyzing your traffic and analytics. So that's a really important tip that we have, because we've heard a lot of horror stories of people converting over to HTTPS, and then because they didn't do it properly or missed a few steps, they basically had a lot of loss in traffic. So the other news was a lot of the SEO organizations, including Sempo, are calling for a search marketing code of ethics. Again, I mean, when it comes to SEO, it's essentially like the wild, wild west over there. So Sempo and some of the other organizations are trying to tie up together so as to create a certain code of ethics. And then if you do sign into this code of ethics, then you would be expected to follow them. So it's almost going to be sort of like a laying out the law of the land. Here's some do's, here's some don'ts, here's a code of ethics that we'd be following. They want to come up with this. They want to have a lot of participation from the industry members. And I'm sure our very own Krista from G-Ship will have some more information on this, as she is one of the directors of Sempo right now. But basically what they want to try and do is have some sort of standardization in the industry. Bruce Clay from California was probably one of the first people in this industry to try and have some sort of a code of ethics. And if you do go to the Bruce Clay website, you'll see his code of ethics, right? So he had formulated this code of ethics, but it was done a while back. So Sempo is now calling for all the organizations to kind of tie up together, create this code of ethics, so everybody can kind of look at following it. And it's going to probably also scare away some of the black hat guys who don't want to be a part of the code of ethics. And it's also good for the consumer, because when you're ending up associating yourself with an organization, you want to make sure that they follow some sort of a code of ethics. Right? So again, we'll keep you posted on this and how this news item develops. The other news item was Google's Gary Ellis, who is the Webmaster Trends Analyst and Search Quality Engineer at SMX East. He mentioned when he was speaking that a Penguin refresh is going to be coming in as early as next week. This was put out around the 3rd of October, so that means it should be probably this week, and we are definitely staying tuned for this one. So if you have recently disavowed any bad links, then it might be too late for this Penguin refresh, which is what Gary mentioned. However, he also mentioned the fact that the Penguin refreshes are going to be taking place more frequently because of a new algorithm that they've put in place. So, but if you just did your disavow, you might not be impacted by this latest Penguin algorithm update that's going to be coming out this week. But it's going to get more and more frequent. So not to worry. If you've done your disavows, then you will see the benefits of that in the coming Penguin updates. And as he's mentioned, it's going to be happening more and more frequently in terms of these updates with some algorithm changes that they've done. Right. So again, we'll stay tuned on this Penguin refresh. As soon as it comes out, we'll definitely keep you updated on LaunchPad and let you know the wins and losses, who's winning, who's down. We'll definitely let you know about this. Great. So I mean, there's a lot of controversy on iCloud and celebrity pictures being hacked. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are aware of what happened there. And so the latest, I mean, just to give you a background, so basically what happened was that you had a lot of celebrities that had uploaded their pictures on Apple's iCloud interface, and seemingly, I mean, assuming that it's not going to be it's accessible and it's bulletproof and nothing's going to happen with iCloud. And historically, I mean, Apple's not really known for a lot of hacking. People don't really put a lot of focus and emphasis on Apple. Microsoft usually really get the brunt of all the hackers and all the hacking activity. Recently, I mean, what had happened was that there was a bunch of celebrities that had their iCloud accounts hacked, and a lot of the pictures were leaked out on the internet, and it was just crazy. So the latest in this saga is that a lawyer, Martin Singer, has basically sued Google for $100 million in damages. And basically what he's saying is that Google was given enough notice, they did not pull the images down. So basically, I mean, it's a pretty interesting tactic that the lawyers nowadays are using, is that if you can't go to the source of the website that actually did these leaks, then you actually go to the search engine. If you're not able to go to the source and put it down, because the search engine is actually promoting that source, and it's not really putting down the images. So that's how they've kind of justified it. So they have sued Google for about $100 million in damages. They've given them an ultimatum so as to have all of these links and all of these sites blocked and removed from the search engine. And there's a big demand letter that's been sent out by the lawyer to Google. Again, I think it's more for publicity as opposed to something really that's going to be happening. Is Google really going to change its laws because of this? I don't think so. But again, it's more sort of like, I guess, a sort of a media play, so as to try and get as much publicity as you can. But that's the latest as far as this whole scandal, this whole episode with regards to the celebrity leaks is concerned. So Google's now being sued for $100 million on this whole side of things. The other news that we had was, again, about 3 or 4 weeks back in one of our LaunchPad webinars, we'd mentioned to you that the quick answer box is now, it had just debuted. And basically what a quick answer box is, if you look at the right side of our screen here, you type in something on the Google search bar, and you'll get an answer for that right away. It's sort of like a little box, right? And you'll get the associated link where that answer is being taken from. So you can click on it, and then you can actually go to that page and read more about it. So according to Moz's tracking study, this quick answers box is now showing up more and more often. As a matter of fact, they said that it's showing up 98% more often than a week ago. So that's how much this thing has gone up by. So some of the things that the quick answer box is coming up for now includes things like, general answer boxes, the definitions, stock quotes, weather forecasts, box scores, etc., etc. So this is coming up more and more often, which is, I guess, bad news for the publishers, because this means that people are not going to be going to the actual website so as to actually look for the answer, because they're getting the answer right away in the quick answer box. So again, it's interesting as to why Google's kind of showing this more and more, because the publishers are definitely suffering, because if the publishers are not able to get a lot of traffic, then they're not going to be able to earn a lot of revenue. So there's definitely a big challenge there for the publishers. And from Google's perspective, it's all about relevancy. They want to make the users happy, so they want to try and give them the answers in the quickest manner possible. And this is one way. The quick answer box is one way of doing that. So again, we'll keep you posted on how this develops. But as of right now, Moz is reporting that the quick answer box is now showing 98% more often than the regular websites. It's kind of interesting to see how this pans out. The other news that we had was Google introducing the automatic item updates for your PLAs. So anybody that's associated with product listing ads, and again, if you're not doing product listing ads, for your customers, you should, because product listing ads are one of the best converting means of doing paid advertising on the internet. You can customize PLAs by geography, so you can have a separate PLA feed for USA, Canada, or any of the other countries all across the globe. And what PLAs does is that it allows you to have an image associated with your product, and then the corresponding price, and then the link to where you can actually buy the product from. Really powerful, because it's all about images, right? So you can actually have an image for your product displayed right on Google on their first page. Very powerful. And it leads to definitely a very high conversion rate. So do definitely take advantage of PLAs if you're not. And what Google's done is that in the past, if there was any discrepancy between your PLA feed in the actual website and what you'd put up on Google, Google straight away disapprove your ad, and your PLAs would stop showing up. So now what they've done is that they've actually provided something called an automatic item update for the PLAs, which essentially means that if you check this box off and you're setting up your PLA feed in the Google Merchant Center, then it's going to real-time query your website to try and see if there have been any changes as far as pricing or the actual data information or inventory is concerned. So they won't disapprove it. It actually real-time query your website to make sure that everything's in sync and you're good to go. This is helping a lot of merchants. Now, there's some issues that we're also hearing about this automatic item update not really working as it's supposed to, but it's a pretty cool feature because this will stop the headache for the advertisers for getting their PLA feed disapproved and then having to figure out why that happened and then uploading a new feed and going through the whole process over and over again, right? So this automatic item update will essentially real-time query the website and fix up any issues whatsoever that are there so that the feed actually never goes down. The feed's always up, and any issues that might arise are all fixed up. So pretty cool feature. They're having some issues launching it, but again, we'll keep you posted on how this pans out. But right before the holidays, I think it's a really useful feature for a lot of the advertisers that are utilizing product listing ads. All right, so moving ahead. All right, I think it's time to pass it over to Armando. Armando, all yours.
Thanks, Anish. Pretty quick and snappy news events this past week. Excellent. Well, just wanted to touch base with everyone on a pretty interesting infographic by QuickSprout, and specifically be a great tool for your sales presentations. As you're going out there and visiting clients, you still have clients that are either B2C or B2B that are a bit not convinced about social media and the power it has as a marketing tool. Neil Patel at QuickSprout came up with a very interesting social media infographic that talks about the use of who's more active on social media, men or women, and specifically for those type of prospects or clients whose target audience are a specific gender demographic. It's very important that you are aware of what they're using. For example, women may be more active in specific social media properties than men. And one of the interesting stats is that 74% of internet users do use social media sites. Now, this number here is 74%. If you were to recall, probably about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that number was still growing, and everybody talked about the social media revolution and how social media was going to take over. And obviously, like anything, you had naysayers. And I kind of look at this this stat as somewhat of a stat when I was back in 1999, 2000, when the internet was something new, and you would speak with business owners about having a website, and they would laugh at you because they didn't believe in it. And now you're probably going to those same business owners and talking to them about the importance of social media, having a social media presence for their business. And I believe that this infographic will definitely help you in explaining to them, educating them on the importance of social media. So just a few top level stats. 72% of men are more open to using social media properties, and 76% of women. So obviously the use of social media is more predominant. Well, it's only 4%, but still more predominant by women. And 69% of women like to stay in touch with friends using social media, so it's a powerful tool for communication. And men are more active in LinkedIn and Google+, whereas women are more active on Facebook and Twitter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Vinish if you can quickly just open up that link, and definitely, it's a very good infographic that you can share with or snippets of the infographic that you can share with your prospects and clients. Okay. So when you click on it, obviously you'll see, it'll have a large image, and you can use it on your presentation. So here we go. Oh, excellent, thanks. So if you can scroll down, you'll see that some of the numbers are interesting. As a matter of fact, women like to use mobile and Facebook to kind of communicate, or social media to communicate with friends and family. Men are a little bit less hesitant to using that. So if you go down, again, you'll see Facebook. Look at that number, 76 and 66%. So, women is an area that if you're thinking of, for example, spas, nutritional type of products, cosmetics, etc. Those are, if you have a client that focuses on those areas, this would be a great tool to do some additional advertising with Facebook. Facebook advertising, because of the fact that 76% of users are women. Women will definitely post more than men, so they're very active, they're very engaging in it. If you scroll down, I mean, there's a couple of more things about the use of games on Facebook. Now, Twitter, again, women lead the way, right? So this stats is interesting. 40 million users, 40 million more women use Twitter than men. So again, it's a very predominant social media used by women. In this case, Instagram, because it's such a visual type of a tool, it does appeal to both men and women, although again, women kind of lead the way, but still it's only 17% of internet users use Instagram, so it's still a tool that, and I would imagine that predominantly is probably the younger generation, right, that are doing it. So they share some of the manliest brands on Instagram. So as you can see, sports driven brands, and then some of the girly brands. Again, you'll notice that these are younger brands, right? Forever 21, for example. Pinterest, women are using it more than men. Okay, so if you have, again, a client that focusing on targeting the female demographic, make sure that they are using Pinterest. And when it comes to LinkedIn, this is where men lead the way. There's a 24% use of men over women, 19. So that's interesting as well. Men tend to use Google Plus more than women at this stage, although it's only 10% of all the usage. Now, this is the one that kind of I thought was kind of cool, and it's probably because men are more visual. We kind of like to see things, and we're visual beings. In this case, 54% of men are using YouTube as a way of engaging with social media, and women are only 46% active user base. And as a matter of fact, if you look at this, men spend an average of an hour on YouTube per week, while women spend 35. So men actually spend 2 times more on YouTube than women. So in this case, again, if you have a product that targets the male demographic, please, we always recommend that you use YouTube as a way of providing services and educating your client. So here we have a bit more feedback, and just in conclusion, where women are active and where men are active. So you'll see that definitely women tend to be more active on social media, but men have specific social media properties that you should also be focusing on in your social media mix. So interesting article. I thought that this would be very good for your sales presentations that you're going out there and doing with your prospects, and you're trying to introduce social media to them. Very good presentation. Infographic. Not sure if you want to add 1 or 2 cents, Vinicio, on this social media component. I know that you've been working on different campaigns, and thought maybe.
I think the graph really sums it up pretty accurately in terms of what the assessment is. But in terms of social media, what we've seen is that it's a terrific way to kind of engage with consumers and audiences. We haven't had a lot of success when it comes to actual real-time conversions in dollars and cents from social media, even if it's paid social media. So that's an area that social media keeps struggling with, which is to really get people to pull out their credit cards And if you remember a couple of LaunchPad editions back, we had talked about how Facebook and even Twitter are now integrating e-commerce some way, somehow into their mix because they understand that dilemma. And that's a big dilemma to have because it's all about the money at the end of the day. They can have hundreds and millions of users, but they have to make money at the end of the day some way, somehow. So Twitter just launched the buy now, one-click icon on some of their Twitter feeds that they were testing out with 5 or 6 different advertisers. Facebook's got a buy now button that they've launched. So they're all dabbling with e-commerce because at the end of the day, if they want this demographic, these people on social media to spend money, and that's been a big challenge for the social media networks overall, and that's been our experience as well. It's great from a, from a branding, from a Q&A perspective, from an engagement perspective for brands to really engage with their followers and their customers. But when it comes to actually taking out your credit card, social media is still kind of like lagging behind. So yeah, just a couple of thoughts on that.
Thanks, Manish. Yeah, and it's an engaging tool, and that's the key thing. It's not just about, let's say, your clients or yourself just making posting updates on these social media properties. Is really really about engagement and having people plus you, like you, share, retweet, etc. So that's what the positive effect social media can have, not only on your lead generation over time, but as well as the positive effect it can have on your SEO strategy, because it works together, right? For those of you that have completed the social selling course, the power of what social media can have in this arena. So it's something that you should kind of educate your client and little by little start creating campaigns around that, whether it be just the paid campaigns or non-paid campaigns through the social media channels such as Facebook and Twitter. So anyhow, I thought, and also Google Plus, because you can actually YouTube, because you can also actually monetize that as well. But yeah, some thoughts here, and just wanted to share this. Sometimes I get questions from ICs, do you have any updates on social media? This will be a great infographic for you to use in your presentations. So moving on, thank you, Vinish. And I do apologize, I have a bit of a cold this morning. The weather in Toronto has changed again. So I have a bit of a cold. So wanted to touch base with everyone today on a case study, a website that we've been working on. Lori Bonitara from California. She has a client called the Roseville Auto Mall. Recently won an award for SEO best SEO project or program at ENI. And interestingly enough, again, we've had some issues with this with this client. And I want to give you a bit of a background. It's not necessarily what we've been doing or what Lori has been doing. It really has to do with the background technology. Okay, and sometimes, specifically within the auto industry, we've noticed in that obviously many auto dealers use proprietary or a specific dealership out-of-the-box content management systems, obviously because of their databases and the ability to update their cars on stock or in stock. They basically use these proprietary technologies. Now, some of these proprietary technologies are good when it comes to the database functionality, but from an SEO perspective, we've had challenges with them. And it's just not this one, this case that we've had with the Roseville Auto Mall. We've worked with quite a number of auto dealership websites, and what we've seen is that they really have challenges with the technology from an SEO perspective. I mean, the functionality is good from a user's perspective, but from an SEO perspective, they're not the greatest. They have various different flaws, and in this case, this penalization by Google Panda 4.1 that happened in September had to do with again one of the technologies that was part of this website. Basically, what we noticed back in September was the fact that we know the IC had kept in touch with keeps in touch with the website, keeps in touch with Google Webmaster Tools and their rankings, and noticed that there was a significant drop in organic search traffic and rankings. And when we started trying to identify what the issue was. The IC in collaboration with us, we began to see that there was duplicate content creation and metadata creation. Now, obviously, if you remember 4.1 update, it had to do with poor quality content, right? And websites being penalized with that. Now, let me kind of go back to that. It wasn't that the IC or the client was writing poor quality. It was just the way the blog module was displaying this to the search engines, and what it was actually doing, it was actually generating duplicate content and meta content online. So even though the post was there once, when you kind of went through the webmaster tools, it was actually showing us a duplicate. So obviously, we work with the IC to make sure that we could try to minimize this damage. And as a matter of fact, we tried to work with the solutions provider, which is dealers.com. It's a national web solutions provider for auto dealerships. And after kind of going back and forth in communications with them, we actually were unable to make the change. And the way the blog module was structured, obviously, because it's a proprietary module, they didn't want to make the changes to make it more SEO friendly. But still, it was creating all these errors, markup errors on Google Webmaster Tools. So we had two options: either try to fix the module or remove the remove the blog. Okay, so very important from a learning perspective. Once we had this challenge, we didn't go ahead and say, okay, let's remove the module and get it out of the website. We tried finding a solution to try to see if we could fix the module. So sometimes when we face problems or challenges with Google, we don't want to have a knee-jerk effect. It's very important to try to minimize the damage that you can create by taking away modules or removing pieces from the website. So in this case, our first solution was, let's try to fix the module, which we try to do. We contacted, like I said, the solutions provider. They weren't able to help us. In the meantime, as the website rankings were going down, and I'll show you in a second. But after trying to do that, obviously the IC had to make a call, which was, let's remove the blog. And again, in removing the blog, we were also removing some good content, because there was some really good articles and blog posts that were written. It's just the way they were being displayed or served to the search engines that made it look like it was duplicate content. So we had to remove it. Now, if you go to the next slide, I just want to show you a few examples of what actually happened here. Vinish, if you just click on to the next one. Excellent. So post 4.1, you'll see on the top left-hand corner, you'll see that the rankings totally dropped. These keywords had always been on the top 10, top 5 rankings. Unfortunately, we don't have the previous or pre Panda 4.1 update. We only have the post and after when it recovered. But as you can see, they were totally in the gutter. Like, Cars for Sale Sacramento was in 84th spot after being in top 10. Used Cars for Sale in Sacramento again in 90th place after being in the top 10. So it really took a hit on the website. And obviously, it took about I think it was about 2 weeks before we were able to actually start seeing results. If you look at the graph, the first graph on the left-hand side, bottom left-hand side, all traffic, you notice that was the time span. The red line just signifies the time span where we actually were notified about that the website was hit by the update, and when it actually started to recover. So it did take a few days. You're probably looking at about 20 plus days that it happened. So this is what's also very important, because sometimes when Google does this updates and you actually try to fix things, and you obviously resubmit your sitemap, you try to connect with Google to make sure that they crawl your website. It does take time. It's not like okay, so we did the fixes today, and that by Friday everything's going to get back to normal. No, it's important to educate your client that whenever there's any type of penalties or changes to the algorithm, and if your website is affected, it will take a bit of time for them to recover. Okay, very important. So in this case, you can see the timeline of these challenges that we had. It took from the day that we actually highlighted it, which was around the 10th, 12th of September, to the time that we actually ran the second Google search rankings, where you can see on the second image there, the second snapshot on the right hand side, you'll notice that by October 3rd, we had recovered. We're used Cars for Sale Sacramento, Cars for Sale Sacramento. We're back on page 1, and you can definitely say that this was a Google penalty. However, interestingly enough, traffic was affected, but it wasn't really. It didn't dip, as you can see from the top. Sorry, from the bottom left slide again. Traffic kind of remained. And as we started making changes to the website and removed the module around September 22nd, traffic started moving up again, started kind of trending. However, when we did the comparison between September 10th to October 3rd to a previous time frame, we did lose about 5% of traffic because of the penalty. However, after we've been monitoring the website, it seems that it's kind of up to normal. It's probably going to take another 30 days before we kind of gain the traffic that we could have lost, and that's where we're kind of keeping our eyes open to making sure that we can bring the site back to normal. Now, if you can go back to the previous slide, just want to kind of share some lessons learned from this, because you may face this in the future with any of your sites or prospects sites that they're bringing to you. And one of the things that we've learned internally as a team at ALM is we got to go with our gut feel. And what does this mean? Back in April, when we started working with Roseville Automall, we noticed that the blog wasn't really structured SEO friendly. And we did notice that we were getting these specific messages for Webmaster Tools, and we did notify the IC. But if you look at it, Google Panda 4.0 pretty much came in May, the first one, and 4.1 just was launched about a month ago. And we kind of did notify the IC. The IC took action, notified dealers.com, letting them know, look, this blog structure is not SEO friendly. Can you make some changes? And again, the first time that we asked it, they said no. That was back in the spring or late spring. And again, when we went back in September to have this solutions provider make some changes, they say no. It was then that we decided to remove the blog altogether because it was hurting the website's rankings and its performance. But from our perspective, I believe that we should be more firmly at that time to try to remove the blog module to avoid any issues. We didn't know that Google Panda 4.0 and 4.1 was going to be released, but we did know technically that the blog wasn't SEO friendly. So that was one of our internal learnings. The second thing is monitoring your Google Webmaster Tools. And this is one where I will tell you, based on my communication with ICs, 85 to 90% of you don't even check your Google Webmaster Tools for your clients. We actually have a process in-house where we check them at least 2 to 3 times a month to make sure that everything is running smooth. In this case, Lori is part of those ICs that actually checks the Google Master Tools probably on a weekly basis or more, and she was able to identify the challenge with the website. As a matter of fact, she was the one that notified us to try to find a solution because when this happened on around September 10th, September 12th, our first check of the month was already completed, and our next check was on the 15th to check Google Master Tools. So she caught this earlier, very early on the month, and it's very important that even if you spend 15-20 minutes a week just going over some of your accounts, specifically the ones that you kind of may feel that they're in that gray area when it comes to their technology may not be as SEO friendly. You want to keep track of Google Webmaster Tools and review them. So monitoring your Google Master Tools is very important. I know ICs sometimes only monitor their Google Analytics, but the Webmaster Tools is a brief view. Just you can look at 3 areas: crawling errors, HTML improvements, pages, index, and it's about 3 areas that you want to look at to identify any potential issues or gains. So do monitor your Webmaster Tools. And the third thing that we learn is that we have to be patient with Google. Obviously, they're the juggernaut, and they will do things at their own pace. And in this case scenario, even though we fixed everything by September 22nd, it took another 10, 11 days before things started turning around. And we're still at this stage now on October 7th, still looking for improvements on this case study. So be patient with Google, because it's not gonna, even though you may be able to make some changes to your website, submit a new sitemap, do a Google fetch, or any of the things that Google asks you to do, it does take time for them to actually refresh their database or crawl your website, refresh your databases. So be patient and educate your clients on being patient, because at the end of the day, it's outside your hands or our hands to make these changes. So those were the lessons learned from this specific case study, specifically from the Google Panda 4.1. Over to you, Vinish.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. That was a pretty good case study there. Excellent. It's always good to kind of review these with the ICs, as a lot of the ICs have a lot of common questions at a lot of instances, a lot of times. So this is great. Awesome. Excellent. All right. So moving ahead, I think that's pretty much the end of our webinar for this week. You all know about us. If you need to get a hold of us, here's our contact info: Armando at WSI or info at WSI. Let's see if you have any questions. So Mike asked for the link for QuickScout to be shared in the chat box, which we did. Mike, hope that was okay. So Bob has a question: how would adaptive SEO possibly prevent what happened to the Roseville Auto Mall? Do you want to attempt that, Armando?
Well, in this case, it didn't have anything to do, even with the technical aspect of adaptive SEO, the technical features, it was really came down to the actual structure of the website. The blog module wasn't SEO friendly. With adaptive SEO, obviously one of the mandates that we have is that every website should have a blog module, preferably a WordPress module. And why? Because for XYZ reasons, Vinish, you can confirm this also, but Google likes WordPress, right? Probably the way the technology structure. But in this case, we did do everything technically that was correct. It just happened that we were working with a third-party technology, right? So I don't think that using ASEO, would have made a difference, because at the end of the problem, the issue was the technology. It was that specific module that was not SEO friendly, and we had flagged it back in the spring, and the IC had flagged it to the client and to the solutions provider. It's just that they didn't do anything about it, right? And that's where it becomes a bit of a tug of war, because the dealership, the solutions provider will not do anything unless they get like 10, 15, 20, 25 requests, right? They were only getting probably one request from one of their clients. So I don't think ASEO, from my experience, ASEO would have made a difference, because it was a technology flaw.
Cool. Yep, I would agree, Armando. I think it's more preventative as opposed to doing something that happens later. Like when we do an initial assessment is when we need to be flagging all these errors right in the beginning. And unfortunately, we did not get this campaign right at the beginning for us to take any action. Bob also had another question with regards to the HubSpot package pricing. So we're in the midst of completing our certification right now, Bob. So I'd say we're probably a couple of weeks away. So it's the 7th of October. We want to try and complete our certification and roll everything out, say, pretty much by the 20th. So we'll definitely keep you posted on that. That's the time frame that we're looking at. Great. No other questions? Terrific. Great. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday, 11 a.m. Thank you.